If you happen to be reading this essay on May 18th at around noon, do you remember what you were doing 10 years ago at that time? Probably not, but I do. I have a deck in my house, in the back of my house, and I'm Scottish, and I wanted to save money and not have somebody else do it. And I've painted decks millions of times, so I decided to paint the deck that is on my house. And I slipped off of a ladder, fell 10 feet, and cracked my head open against a retaining wall. And I told you I was Scottish and therefore I was Presbyterian. The ambulance took me to a Catholic hospital, and a Muslim doctor saved my life. That's ecumenism. What he did was to cut a big circle on the side of my head out, and then took a little saber saw and took the plate of the skull out, and then sewed it back up again. And I did not have any skull there for over a month, so that the internal bleeding from the subdural hematoma or traumatic brain injury allowed the brain to swell out and then in time recede back. A month later, I go back into the hospital. They open my head open again, put the skull back in together, and stitched it up. I don't remember falling. I don't remember going to the hospital. I don't remember being in the hospital. I don't remember, I was in ICU for 4 weeks. I don't remember being taken to a rehab hospital for another 3 weeks, except the only time I can remember of almost 8 weeks is the last week and a half in rehab. And I'll tell you, as honestly as I can make it, I would never want to do that again in my entire life. But I would not delete that experience from my life if I had the option. In a strange way, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me, because dancing with death caused me to come alive. And I understand, unless you've done the dance, that sounds like a contradiction in terms. You're alive. And I've had arguments with people about this. If you think you're alive and have not done the dance, I'm saying that dancing with death causes you to understand life at a higher level, a more intense level. It changes the way you function in the world. If it had not been for that, and the other dance in the same year with prostate cancer that came back because it had gotten outside the prostate, those two dances made me enjoy my life at a far more intense level than I had prior to that. And I thought I was fully functional. I'm so far left of center politically, involved in every social movement since I was in high school and college and grad school. I thought I was alive. Man. And this is if you go to my index page for articles and look on the right-hand side and look for critical issues and scroll down to Randy Pausch's The Last Lecture. There's a story there about as a preface to that index page, that I was having dinner with a guy in Chicago, and I was looking for a teaching job. And so he sat down, and he did exactly what I would have done if I was interviewing somebody or trying to find a job for him to teach. He said, well, tell me about yourself, Campbell. And I did. Through the entire dinner. Just one thing after another. And he saw something in me that I was not aware of. I'd done the dance several years before that. I recovered and went back to living what I considered normal. But it wasn't normal. And at the end of the dinner, he politely said, oh, by the way, have you ever seen Randy Posh's last lecture? And I said, no, and I kept on talking. He said, I'll send it to you. The next morning, I came to my office in my home and looked at my emails, and there it was. And for the next hour and 15, 16 minutes, I watched a lecture by Posh, who was dying of pancreatic cancer. And all of a sudden it dawned on me, all the pieces of my puzzle of life came together. And it wasn't that the dance with death, I was going in this direction, and then I did the dance, and I went in this direction. That's not what happened. I was here, involved in the world, Dance with Death, and the next thing that happened was that I was here. It just elevated my drive to do things. It was, I wouldn't want to go through that episode again. I came home from the rehab hospital, and I wanted to walk around the lake to get, lake I live on, to get exercise. And I walked out of the house and got to the end of the driveway, and I had to come back in. I was tired. I've been on my back for 8 weeks, almost. But Dylan Thomas wrote a poem about death. And he said, rage, rage against the dying of the light. Rage has a kind of negative feeling about it. But I know what he meant. My life is a rage. It's a nice rage. I would never in my lifetime, ever delete that one near-death experience, because it taught me to live and enjoy life. So I appreciate you listening to me rage against the dying of the light. But if just remember, if you haven't done the dance, if you've come to a near-death experience, read or watch Randy Posh's last lecture. That one, can you imagine? I've went to grad school, or went to college, grad school, post-grad school, and taught for the last 2 decades. Can you imagine the number of lectures that I have given or I have sat in on? And of all the lectures, either the ones that I got from other professors or the ones that I have given, that single lecture was the best lecture that I have ever heard. So if you've done the dance, watch that last lecture. If you haven't done the dance, be aware sometime you'll have a near-death experience, hopefully without dying. and then watch that lecture again. It's an amazing experience. It's an amazing experience to be alive, and I'm not going to waste my time. So I appreciate your time watching and listening to this video and reading this essay. You take care.